And today is podcast number 3. I had to think about that for just a moment because I wanted to add the introduction, but that would not be correct. And today, what we're going to be talking about is how does Tao healing work? The first 2 episodes are on what is Tao healing? The second episode was why is Tao healing important? And today we're going to be focusing on how does Tao healing work? This is a very exciting episode. This is one of my favorite topics, actually, because having been a Tao healer for almost 15 years now, when I first started this, and you'll hear this in one of my initial episodes, I was trying to figure out how this worked because I could see that it was working, and it was a transference of frequency and vibration, but it was working so effectively and so quickly, I just couldn't quite grasp it. And when my teacher, Dr. and Master Sha, explained to me that this form of healing, Tao healing, can work on just about anything, not just healing people, their physical, but it could help to transform emotional challenges or relationship challenges. How many of us have some of those, right? So one of the unique things about Tao healing that really, I have to say, I'm so excited to share today is that I can now actually explain how Tao healing works. So to set a little backdrop for you to get the most out of this, Tao healing, the name Tao is source. So it in essence means source healing. And Dr. and Master Sha is the founder of this form of healing. It is truly remarkable the amount, the many thousands, probably close to hundreds of thousands of people now who have received this form of healing. It is, in my opinion, certainly no negative comments here about any other form of modality. It's a personal opinion. In my personal opinion, I believe it's far more effective than most of the other forms of energy healing that are out there, especially when we're talking about remote healing. And that's both from personal experience and observation. But let me go ahead and share with you why. So many years ago, when I started in this training modality, I did not really understand how it worked. I knew it worked because, as I spoke about in a previous episode, my roommate Barry, excuse me, was new at this, didn't know anything about it, had no idea what I understood or knew or any abilities I might have had. And to be perfectly frank, I didn't know if I had any at all either. And I put up my palm and I asked my healing hands to offer a healing for Barry's back. And within 10 minutes, his 10 plus years of back pain had completely dissolved and it did not return, which truly is shocking when you think about it. And so for me, having witnessed that and going through a process of at least 6 months of doing healing after healing after healing, and it working and working and working, I was like, wow, I really need to understand this. And at those times, Dr. and Master Sha, the founder of this form of healing, he would say in his language of those days, keeping in mind that he grew up in the Eastern culture. So he grew up in Buddhism and in Taoism and in Confucianism. Now, he never taught anything religious, and neither do I. But he only stood the nomenclature of those days. So in those days, he would try to explain to us that when somebody makes a mistake, when somebody harms another through unpleasant thoughts or unpleasant words or unpleasant actions, then that remains in their vibrational field. And in those traditions, they would actually refer to that as a karma. And actually, as it turns out, in the Western culture, it might be called a sin. But this is just, verbiage to help people comprehend it. Now, what we do is we refer to it from a completely scientific understanding. So I'm going to share with you today how Tao healing works using the understanding of Tao science. Now, Tao science, to give you a little background on that, is the science of the source. Tao means source. So Tao science is the science of the source. And Tao science was founded by Dr. and Master Sha and Rulin Shu, who is a physicist, very talented physicist. I was blessed to work with her for several years in the Portland area. And what I came to understand, having working closely with Dr. Rulin Shu and having read 2 books that Master Sha has put out regarding the Tao science, don't have the books in front of me to read you the actual titles, but you can find them. He asked Dr. Rulin, he said, I know that this source healing works, but because people cannot see it, because people cannot comprehend it, they have 10, 20, 30 years of pain, 1 or 2 years of pain. And then after 1, 2, or even 10 healings, it's just completely ameliorated. The mind has trouble understanding that. And so he asked Dr. Rulin Shu, with math, with physics, to validate several things. One was the nature of the soul. He asked her to validate with physics the nature of the soul, that it really exists. He then asked her to validate with physics that this form of healing works. And she was able to accomplish both. Now, I am not a physicist, and I have no idea how to explain things in the way she does. Maybe one day I'll have her on as a guest speaker. But what I can share with you is the theory that was created to explain the nature of Tao healing and how it works. Now, it's called the universal law of Shen, Qi, Jing, an information system. That's what it's referred to. And Dr. and Master Sha understood that spirituality and science need to blend. They need to meld. They need to have harmony. Right now, science is free of any form of spiritual consciousness, and spiritual consciousness acknowledges science, but doesn't apply it necessarily to validate any spirituality. And Master Sha understood that in order for humanity, all humanity, to benefit from this form of healing, because that's his goal, in order for all humanity to benefit, we have to provide validation and proof of the efficacy of this in such a way that it bypasses the scientific regimens and as well as the medical ones. There's a book called Shen Medicine written by Dr. Peter Hudoba, who studied over 600 cases, 18 actual studies, and he's taught this in various seminars and symposiums around the world about the efficacy of this form of healing. So you can research that on your own. Back to Tao science. And Master Sha sat down with Rulin and they wrote the 2 books, and they came up with a universal theory called the universal law of Shen, Qi, and Jing, a information system. And this 2 columns on this information system. On the left column is Shen, Qi, and Jing. Shen, Qi, and Jing are Mandarin Chinese words. Master Sha, the founder of this, is Mandarin Chinese. And Shen has many ancient meanings associated with it. It could mean spirit, it could mean soul, it could mean magical, it could mean many unique things associated with that word. And Master Sha has defined it as soul, heart, and mind. Most of you have heard of soul, heart, and mind, and how the heart houses the mind and the soul. And so this is not foreign to the West, but he has categorized that under the word Shen. Qi, everybody here has heard of. Qi is energy. You've heard of Qigong, you've heard of Tai Chi, right? These are forms of energy movement. In fact, in the East, they have hospitals that are dedicated entirely to Qigong. They don't actually work with any forms of the Western medicines. And they have many, hundreds, thousands of success stories of people reversing their illnesses through the movement of Qi. So the left column is Shen and then Qi, which is energy. And the third is Jing, Jing. Jing. Jing is matter. Matter is representative of the physical world. So if you were to apply these Shen, Qi, and Jing understandings to Tao healing, we would say something to the effect of the soul houses the thoughts, words, and actions that everyone has ever had in this lifetime. And as mentioned before, if you believe in other lifetimes, then you would add those. And if you do not, go back and listen to the other recordings, as I speak about how your ancestors, they have had both positive and negative thoughts, words, and actions, and that remains within their vibrational field, which affects their DNA. And then that DNA, if that effect on that DNA is positive, then you inherit that, and you have a very, very healthy existence. But if the effects of their negative thoughts, words, and actions in their lifetimes, your ancestors, is unpleasant and harmful to others, that also affects their DNA. It affects their vibration on their field, which affects their DNA, and then that's transferred down to you. And science would say that that has an association of a inheritable disease, for example. Okay, where did that inheritable disease come from? Why did that ancestor receive that disease? This wisdom would say it's because they created negativity on their field by unpleasant thoughts, words, or actions, by bringing harm or suffering to others. Okay, so this is really one of the core understandings of the foundation of understanding how does Tao healing work. In order to understand how it works, you have to understand where the discomfort, the lack of balance in a person's life originated from. Tao healing works by dissolving the root cause. And the root cause is the negative thoughts, words, and actions that the soul holds in its vibrational field. The heart is the receiver of that negative information. The heart receives that negative information. Now, we also want to see both sides of this coin. The soul also holds positive information. So the heart receives positive information. Maybe it's a healthy relationship. And then the mind receives that positive or negative information. And the mind is the processor. And I'm touching on words now that go to the Tao science column. I'll give more clarity to that in a moment. So the soul is the holder of either the positive or negative information. The heart receives it. Heart is the receiver. The mind processes it and sends it downstream to the Qi, which is the energy. The energy is the actioner. It brings into action the messages coming from upstream. Is it a positive message that the heart received and sent to the mind? And the mind starts focusing on that positive message and then manifests into the vibrational field, the physical, which is the Jing. Okay, so Jing is matter. It is the actual manifestation of something, whether it's the manifestation of an illness or the manifestation of a healthy relationship or healthy finances. So now that's the left column. Let's pop over to the right-hand column, which is the information system. Tao science says that that the soul is a carrier of information. It's a warehouse of information. The soul, everyone and everything has a soul, according to the ancient wisdoms. But we know that you and I do. We don't have to discuss the other possibilities, but we know that you and I do. And so our soul is a warehouse of information. Where did the information come from? It came from everywhere. It came from our mom and dad when we were growing up, came from our teachings, our teachers, our belief systems. It came through the DNA that came through our ancestors, and potentially it could have come from previous lifetimes. It comes from walking through the living room when the spouse might be listening to the negative news talking about the world blowing up. All of this information enters our eyes, our ears, it enters our senses, and that then infuses itself upon our vibrational field. Some of it comes into our vibration upon birth, and some of it comes into our vibration as we go through life. But we are responsible for what enters our vibrational field. So the soul is the warehouse of information. The heart then is the receiver of information. We're on the right-hand column where Tao Science is. The heart receives the information. Is it positive or is it negative? Right? The mind is the processor. Think of the mind like the general. A lot of people like to give a lot of credit to the mind over matter, etc., etc. And there's nothing wrong with it. It is proven to be effective that when somebody focuses their mind, they can create tangible results. What are they doing with their mind? They are moving the chi, which then manifests the end result, which is the matter, the jing. So let's put these side by side. At the top, we have the soul, and we have, which is the Shen. It is the spirit, the original part of our creator, and it holds all positive and negative thoughts, words, and actions from all time. In Tao Science, we would say that's information. The heart receives, the mind processes, the Qi, which is the energy, which is the momentum put forth. After the mind puts everything into action, the mind starts processing that positive or negative. The energy starts moving the ball. Maybe it's moving towards business success. Maybe it's moving towards a relationship success. Maybe it's moving towards a health recovery. But that ball is moving because the positive or negative information went downstream to the heart, to the mind, creating the movement to the chi, and then the end result, the physical manifestation, however it shows up in your life, is the matter, the jing. This is the universal law of Shen, Qi, Jing, an information system. So this information system tells us how our illnesses occur, how our successes in life occur. This information tells us why something does not work. Raise your hand if you've visualized millions of dollars and it hasn't come to you, okay? Why? Because it doesn't start at the mind level. The heart needs to be involved. The soul has a vote in this. And if you or your ancestors had brought financial suffering to others, harmed others' finances, their businesses, stole, cheated, lied, whatever it might be, and as a result, those individuals, their families, their loved ones could have suffered, could have lost land. That negative information remained in the ancestor's vibrational field, or yours if you did that. And it doesn't just go away magically. Oh, well, I just took from them, no big deal. No, it stays in your field. And it creates a vibration that, in the case of money, could get in the way of your financial success. Let's talk about relationship in a different example. What if you have exceptional relationships? No matter who you talk to, they just love you. What does that mean? That means that you carry good thoughts. You want the best wishes for others. And in this and other time, you and your ancestors benefited others, helped others, gave them a foot up. What about health issues? Some of us are very, very healthy. Some of us are not. What is the root cause of that? Sometimes it's not so easy to identify the root cause. In the next few episodes, I'll be doing a lot of Tao healing, wisdom and teachings, and some testimonials as well, and actual delivery of Tao healing. I'm going to do some live healings. And one of the things that I want you to understand is that our health issues have a direct association to the negative information on our vibrational field. So let's say you have long-standing back pain. We'll use that as an example. You go to the chiropractor once a week, and it works for about a day or so. You go to the massage once a week, and you're pretty good for a day or so, and then it comes back. Some of you have had surgery. Some of you have been hit in the back end by a car 3 times just in the last year. Do you actually think that this is accidental? You can go on believing that if you want, but the universal law of cause and effect is immutable. Where there is a cause, there is always an effect. And the higher wisdom teachings, it would be said that an enlightened one does not fear anything except their next thought, word, or action. For they know that their next thought, word, or action creates a butterfly effect. So they are very conscientious moving into each moment, the person on the enlightened path. Those that are suffering want to stop pointing the fingers outside of themselves. You did this to me. You ran your car into me. I'm suffering in relationship because you were so mean to me. I can't rub two nickels together because my boss fired me. This is pointing the finger outside of us. This will not help your recovery on any aspect of your life. The universal law of Shen, Qi, and Jing acknowledges that nothing is accidental. Nothing is accidental. And sometimes that's hard to hear. Sometimes we don't want to take responsibility for what happens in our life. Tao healing works by acknowledging that this negative information is the root cause of the suffering. And Tao healing is a healing frequency. It is a empowerment that has been transmitted to that Tao healer. This empowerment comes with the ability to open a channel through which the source, Tao means source, through which the source, most pure frequency and vibration can come through. I'm going to pause for a moment here where I clear my throat. Okay, thank you. And this most pure source frequency and vibration that comes through the channel, through the conduit of the transmission that healer has received, carries, here's where the rubber hits the road, so listen, it carries the most pure, positive source frequency and vibration that we were all born from. That source frequency and vibration is free of negativity. And in terms of how it affects us, it does not affect the physical body. It does not. It does not change the energy. It does not. It does not change the mind. It doesn't affect the mind at all. It doesn't affect the heart at all, actually. That is what all of the other modalities try to affect. They try to affect the physical. They try to affect the emotional. They try to affect the mindsets, attitudes, beliefs. They try to affect the heart. And it's not that they don't work, but they have a minimal degree of success. What Tao healing does, the source most positive frequency and vibration comes through, and it affects the negative information that is being held in the warehouse of the soul. That negative information has been with that individual a long time. And that's why out of nowhere they get a cancer. That's why out of nowhere the relationship goes south for the winter. This is why people who have successful business, all of a sudden it goes under. Everything has a cause. We now experience the effect, but we, in most cases, remain oblivious to how to transform it. The answer to transforming it is understanding the nature of your soul and finding a Tao healer who carries this frequency and vibration. They connect and they ask the source, as appropriate, to offer healing and transformation for this individual's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, whatever the root cause is at the level of soul that is inhibiting them from having success at the physical level. So let me put this a different way. Tao healing transforms the frequency and vibration at the level of soul, makes it more positive, It goes in essence, it goes in and it erases the negative information. If you were speaking from the Eastern culture perspective, they would be saying it releases some of the karma. If you were speaking it from the Western perspective, you would say it's forgiveness of a sin. We don't say any of that. But if that's the direction you're coming from and your understanding of this, great. If that helps you to understand it better, fabulous. Up to you. I share with it the way it's been taught. Tao healing transforms the negative information by adding source, positive frequency and vibration. And what does that do? The heart receives a new positive message around finances or health or illness. And maybe it's not a 100% perfect message, but maybe it's been altered by 50 or so percent. The mind now receives a much more positive message about that back pain or about that finances or that relationship. The mind receives this new, much more positive message that did not get changed at the mind level. It got changed upstream at the level of soul. And the mind says, yes, sir, I'm the processor. I'm going to send this information to the energy. The energy then starts bringing action to this new positive message, thereby transforming the relationship or transforming the physical issue, transforming the finances. The Jing, which is the end result, the matter, has to change. The one sentence secret in all of Master Sha's books. Transform the negative information first at the level of soul. And the heart, the information, the message, the information, the energy, and the matter has to transform to match what is transferred at the origin. In his previous books 15 years ago, he would say, heal the soul first and the mind and body will follow. Now, what's an actual representation of that? I got to wrap it up with this because we're at the end of this half hour. I do a healing, and 10 minutes later, the pain's gone. How do you explain it? The original reason for that suffering has been forgiven. It has been erased. It has been transformed at the level of origination. This is how Tao healing works. So if you'd like to know more about Tao healing, I encourage you to come to my website. There's my little alarm. My website is called wellspringoflight.com. Wellspringoflight.com. It's in the definitions. It's in the the description. And you can learn more about this. Schedule yourself a private consultation. Schedule yourself a healing. Okay? I'm here to serve you. I have amazing programs, and you'll learn more about them right after this. So it's been my honor to connect with you. I look forward to seeing you very soon. I'll be back here again next week for the next podcast. And until then, have an awesome day. Bye-bye, everybody.